I was very privileged to be invited onto a Zoom call with the Dalai Lama a few years back. It was during one of London's lockdowns, and it was 5 o'clock in the morning. I was in bed in my pajamas with a cup of tea. We all did that a lot during lockdown, didn't we? And the camera was off, and His Holiness said something incredibly compelling, which I wrote down and I memorized, and I won't use his accent. He said, "The mother is the symbol of love. Without a mother's milk, we cannot survive. The female is the symbol of love and compassion. And sometimes I express that the world needs more female leaders." You've probably heard him say something similar. He's quoted to saying this like a lot of the time. He believes that the world would be a much more peaceful place. He's all about peace. It would be more peaceful with more women in charge. And while I tend to agree with that, just being a woman can't automatically qualify you to be a great leader, can it? Right? But if you have the vision and the desire to lead in any area of your life, I believe the invitation is to not shy away from the inherently feminine qualities that come with being a woman. And I have my own caveat to that, because as I was kind of alluding to earlier, it doesn't matter your gender. It doesn't matter how you identify. If you desire to lead, you need to know that you, every single one of you, every person in this room, every human being has this magical, beautiful blend of masculine and feminine energy within you. Each of us have this masculine and feminine energy. And it's understanding that, moving with that, and valuing it, the feminine in particular, that will make you a great leader. That's the goal that's going to make you a great leader. But where do we begin? Because historically, our role models have always been men. And it's not working. And we don't have a blueprint for this more balanced feminine approach to leadership. So then we find ourselves in this kind of tricky situation, this tricky double bind where, you know, of course we want to be assertive, but God forbid we come off as bossy. And of course we want to be powerful, but we don't want to appear overly forceful. And God forbid we're too emotional, but we don't want to seem cold. And we want to be compassionate, but we don't want to appear weak. And I work with very high achieving women. And like I said, I have some male clients too. And they tell me that this double bind is a very real daily experience for them. I was working with one client recently, and she's with a multinational. She's C-suite, so she's on the senior leadership team. She actually has a seat at the boardroom table. And I said to her, it's like you walk into the boardroom and you stand behind your chair, but you're still looking for somewhere to sit. And she said, yeah, that's exactly how it feels. It's really weirdly confusing. And a lot of my clients, this is their experience. They've got the titles, they've got the income. Some of them have the awards under their belts, but they still don't feel like they deserve to pull out their chair and freaking sit in it like they own it. And as Priya was just saying, you will work in a historically and currently still male-dominated industry. And I wonder, how many of you still don't feel fully confident being a woman in your boardroom or in your business or your organization? How many of you find yourselves speaking in a way that, we were talking about this, it kind of sounds a little masculine, like it's not really your voice, you know it's not your authentic voice. How many of you find you actually just can't find your voice and speak at all, or you're scared to sound too emotional? Because emotions come up for women, don't they, you know? How many of you find yourselves kind of adjusting or toning down how you dress so as not to appear too feminine? I have a colleague, she used to work in banking, and she told me that she learned how to drink pints and play golf to fit in. Right? And I wonder, like, what do you do, or what have you done to fit in? Because we do it. You know, life is busy enough. We are all juggling enough. The juggle was real for you this morning with the sick kids. You know, we are so busy doing all the things, being all the things. So this added pressure, fitting in and adjusting ourselves and measuring ourselves and caring what other people think, it's exhausting. And it's an energy drain that we don't need. It's taking the energy away that you need to lead. On top of all of this, there's the proving energy. And I wonder how many of you feel the need to prove yourselves to colleagues, to suppliers, to clients. Like, it can be really subtle, and it can almost be a little bit gross to admit it. But my clients, they confide in me and they tell me that this is their experience. It's very real for them. And they tell me that there's this addiction, and I'm guilty of this too, by the way. There's this addiction to being busy, something that I'm personally still overcoming, to being busy, to being seen, to be doing all the things. You know, you're all nodding. You know, despite having incredible teams who are totally more than capable, they're not delegating because the fear is, what if they're not wearing their hard work and exhaustion like a badge of honor? They might get found out. And so to avoid imposter syndrome, they're working really hard at the expense of their health and their relationships because they just don't have time for it, or they believe they don't have time for it. And that's when my clients tend to come work with me. They are feeling soul destroyed. I don't know if any of you have ever felt this way. I know I have. They feel like they've got the big important job, but actually, ironically, they still don't fully feel like they deserve to be there. They are sacrificing their relationships. They don't have the personal life that they really want to be having. In fact, in most recent years, my clients have been single. So through no fault of their own, they've just simply, like, unconsciously prioritized work over dating. What if I told you that to feel equal, to feel purposeful, to feel like you are making a real difference in the world, and to feel like you have the energy and the vitality to have it all, like your version of it all in a way that feels good for you, all you have to do is be yourself. Be more you. There's nothing new to learn. There's nothing to adapt to. There's nothing to fit in. There's no fight. Just you being you. It's enough. And when you can know that and really fully embody that, like that's your unapologetic truth, your work will thrive, your relationships will thrive, your family will thrive, and most importantly, you will feel like you're thriving. And so, quick caveat, because while I'm speaking right now to leadership in a professional setting, of course, leadership happens in multiple other settings. It's how you parent your children. Leadership is how you navigate the changing, challenging needs of aging parents. It's how you hold your relationship through difficult times. It's how you advocate to your community. It's the role you play in your sports team. And you might have heard it said that how we do one thing is how we do everything, which is why I'm particularly passionate about speaking to self-leadership. You have to lead yourself first. Internal leadership has to come before external leadership. When you are the chairwoman of your own inner board of directors, you can quit the mind games and the mental gymnastics that come with fighting for your place and fitting in and imposter syndrome, and you can finally relax and feel at ease in your own skin. As you were saying, you feel like you're getting there now with that. But where do we begin with this inside job? So we need to start with a quick conversation about energy. You know how when you walk into a room and a couple have been fighting And they're smiling, they're pretending like everything's okay. It's not okay. You can totally feel that like the vibe is wonky. That's because energy is felt. And we women have a particularly powerful felt sense. Another example of how energy is felt. Do you all know someone who's a people pleaser? Yeah, oh, well, yeah, we do, don't we? And you know how when you're with them, it feels kind of awkward and uncomfortable. And it's such a shame because that's the exact opposite to how they want you to feel. They want you to feel taken care of. They want you to be at ease. They want everything to be just so. But the reason why you're feeling different to that is because whether you consciously realize it or not, their behavior is rooted in a wounded and unhealed place. And you feel that. It's kind of like they need you to be okay so that they can be okay. They need to kind of get something from it. If they were just taking care of you and serving you and looking after you from a place of overflow of love, that's the experience you'd have. That's what you would feel. Another example of how we feel energy. I mentioned earlier I live in the States. So yeah, I moved to America a couple years ago. And when I arrived, I didn't know a single soul outside of my husband, my teenage son, my dog, and my cat. We were it. Quite happy, just us. We're good. And I needed to meet my people. And I'm into yoga. Who was I talking to about yoga? I love my yoga. And so I figured I'd join the local yoga studio. That's where my tribe would hang out. And I did meet some like-minded souls. And I tried different teachers' classes. And some felt good for me and some didn't feel so good for me. And essentially, the teacher was leading me and I was feeling their leadership, men and women. And it was really curious to notice that the ones that didn't feel good for me, I couldn't actually fault them. Like they were saying all the right things, their flows were beautiful, their postures were Instagram perfect in their latest Lululemon. But I didn't feel their authenticity. I didn't feel that they embodied the wisdom of the yoga in the way that I personally, in my practice, need to feel it. And so I wonder if you were to bring to mind leaders in the world that you very personally respect and admire. And you might want to think of a leader on a global stage, or it could be someone in your own organization. There might even be someone in this very room. Maybe it's your yoga teacher or your personal trainer. And just notice that you feel their leadership, don't you? It's not rational, you feel it. And did you all know that you work in the business of relationships? I know it's property, but it's all about relationships, isn't it? And whether you're dealing with a colleague, supplier, or client, you are in a relationship dynamic. And in relationships, we feel each other above and beyond what's said, what someone's wearing, their gender, how busy they profess to be, or how expert they say they are. We can feel if somebody's trustworthy. We can feel if they're going to give us good value. You can feel their authenticity, their expertise, and whether they walk their talk. And what we feel is what they have embodied for themselves. I'm going to say that again because it's really important. What we feel is what they have embodied for themselves. A great leader isn't someone that's done all the workshops on how to craft a winning sales pitch, how to have an influential conversation, how to be an excellent team leader. It all totally has its place, but that's just knowledge and skills, and we can all learn that. Great skills to have. It's your authenticity that is felt. It's when you really embody who you are and own it. That's what gets remembered. That's what will probably win you the pitch. So we have to redefine leadership to it being an inside job. Like I was saying before, internal leadership has to come before external leadership. So where do we begin with that? this brings us back to the beginning when I was talking about how we all have this masculine and feminine energy within us. So just to be super clear, this is an energy. It's nothing to do with gender. Every single one of you, every human on the planet has masculine energy and feminine energy. And it's understanding the interplay between these two that will make you a great leader. Someone who loves her work and doesn't burn out. So I was a single mum for about 8 years. And when I had come to a place of healing from all that had gone on that led me to being a single parent, and when I was finally ready to put myself out there on the apps and start that you anyone know how that feels? Yeah, start dating. I'm going to level with you. The only masculine feminine energy dynamic that was on my mind, can you guess, was getting laid. And I met a lot of unsuitable men, and I dated a lot of guys that were way too young for me, and not good enough for me. And I was bending myself into a pretzel trying to be enough for them. And of course it didn't work. It was unsustainable. And thankfully one day I discovered these magical energetics at play within me, and they became the key to deepening my self-worth and self-belief. They were the key to expanding my health and well-being and vitality. It was the key to catapulting my career and income. And it was the key to me becoming the vibrational match, the energetic match to the kind of quality guy that I wanted to spend my life with. And so as I was going through my dating process, I started to meet better and better quality men. I met my guy. We were married in Bali 2 years later. And we are now living as a blended family, and we're in the States in our 9th year together. And I just want to say my stepdaughter's here today as well, which I just looked at you and felt a bit emotional. So back to energy and how we all have this beautiful blend. So it's said that the masculine energy, the home of the masculine is in our head. The home of the feminine is the body, shoulders down. Most of us have learned to do life from up here, right? Yeah, we have made it habit to think and rationalize our way through every day. No one's shown us how to drop down into the wisdom of our bodies and to lead from that gut-felt, heart-led space. But we need both. I've only got a couple minutes left, and to speed it through, to help you understand these two energies, because that's a whole other workshop in its own right. If it feels okay and safe for you, I would love for you to close your eyes. It'll be for less than a minute. If you don't want to close your eyes, you can just look down at the ground. And I'm just going to say some words. And these words are, I'm hoping that they will resonate within you so you can really feel and understand these two energies. And I'm going to go slow. I've written a few meditation albums, so I hope my voice doesn't put you to sleep. So let's just feeling into your empowered feminine energy. Compassionate, creative, collaborative, intuitive, perceptive, nurturing, empathetic, feeling. And just noticing that it feels soft, tranquil, and easy. And then we're going to feel into the empowered masculine energy. And that's making things happen. Analytical, logical, doing, giving, thinking. And just notice that it feels safe and trustworthy and reliable And for this last moment, just feel the power of both of those energies and how you need both to make things happen in a way that feels good for you, so you're not burning out. So when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So essentially what happens with the feminine energy, it's our feminine energy that receives our guidance, that downloads our inspired ideas, that gets the vision for our life or the mission that we want to make happen, the legacy we want to leave behind. It's our masculine energy that takes the action to make it happen. We need both. Unfortunately, our society has mostly only valued the demonstrable action of getting things done, hence the addiction to being busy. That's where we get our value and our sense of worth. And we've dismissed the feminine as being a complete waste of time. But right there is the gold. This is what's going to make you a great leader. So a daring and mighty leader knows she has to value that feminine, because that's what's going to bring balance back into your leadership. It's what's going to bring balance back into our world when we all can value the feminine. There's one final thing at play, and then I'm going to let you have some breakfast. One final thing at play that's blocking you to being a daring and mighty leader. And that's the disempowered aspects of these two energies, the disempowered masculine and feminine. When you had your eyes closed, we were feeling into the empowered energies. You probably felt the power in them. If it feels okay for you again to close your eyes or look down at the ground for less than a minute, and I'm going to read some words out to you. And this time, please, if you have any cynicism, I invite you to put it to one side. I invite you to have an open heart and an open mind. And zero self-judgment allowed. Okay, so just receiving these words, we're going to start with the disempowered feminine. Codependency, people-pleasing, being the martyr, putting yourself last, invisibility, lack of boundaries, body shame, self-blame, submission, guilt. And now we'll feel into the disempowered masculine energy. Rushing, pushing, insisting, fear of intimacy, scarcity, overworking, overthinking, proving. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And if you related, in fact, if there's one person in this room that doesn't relate to any of that, I'd be so surprised, because we've all got it. Like, hello, welcome to the human experience. Me too. This is lifelong. This is called being human. We deal with this shit, right? And I want you to know that it's just learned behavior. It's a habit of behavior. Habits can be changed. It's not who you are. That's why I do the work I do. I do the deep inner work, the therapeutic work with women to move from disempowered state to empowered state so they can be the woman they want to be in the world. We can all do that. Do you remember how earlier I was saying we didn't have a blueprint for this more balanced feminine approach to leadership? Now we do. Daring and mighty leadership. It's about daring to value the feminine. We all need to do that. The world needs to see that change. And it's about having the mighty courage to do that inner work, because it takes a shit ton of courage to do that inner work and heal whatever's looking to be healed, because other people are feeling it when we're not doing the work. You only have to read the daily headlines and look at the newspapers and just look out the window and see the state of the world, to see that it has been disempowered, wounded people who have not valued the feminine that have been running the show. It's time for that to change. Daring and mighty leadership, when you are leading in that way, you can sustain yourself. So you can work hard. There's nothing wrong with working hard. I've worked really hard to pull this talk together for you. I've been in massive action. But it's doing it in a way that feels good for you so that you're not burnt out. You can take care of yourself in the process. It's about knowing how to hold calm space in a steady nervous system so that the people around you can trust you. They feel relaxed in your presence. Like when the craziness is going on, you got you. If you're crazy on the inside, like we're all screwed, right? When you have you, others can trust you and they will be led by you, and you can hold them and guide them. A daring and mighty leader knows to trust her intuition, to trust her felt sense. She can ask for help, she can get support, she can speak her truth with power and love. The Dalai Lama said that the female was the symbol of love and compassion. Daring and mighty leaders are fueled by love and compassion. When you embody daring and mighty energy, you become magnetic. You have this presence and people just want to be around you. They want to work with you. They want to love you. And they want to be led by you. So let us lead, not by becoming somebody else, but by becoming more of who you truly are. Thank you. So I have a new program. It's called Be Her. So essentially, it's about becoming more of you. It's taking what I just talked about there to the next level. And if you want to know more about it or want to just schedule a chat with me and have a conversation, I'm all ears. But thank you again so much for having me. Thank you.